Okay, so this is the remainder of lecture 37, just the last two problems, but I could see that they were going to be fairly involved, and I didn't want to rush that much. So we have how many grams of sodium bromate should be added to 100 mils to a 100 mil volumetric flask to prepare 0.200 molar sodium bromate. So the volume they're telling us is 100 mils, and that would translate to 0.1000. We need to have those four significant figures because that's what they gave us. Since I only gave you three significant figures for the concentration, we'll see that we're going to lose that that extra digit. But the concentration times the volume give us moles, and then from the moles we're going to go to grams. So the concentration is this is the concentration that they want. The volume is 0.1000 liters. And when we multiply the concentration by the volume, we're going to end up with, fairly easy. Oops. This is 0.0200 moles of sodium bromate. And they want the grams of it, so we have to convert. So this 0.0200 molar sodium bromate. So 1 mole of sodium bromate is, so we have 48 plus 80 plus 23, so 151 grams sodium bromate. Let me do that again, 23 plus 80 plus 48, 151. And so we have 0.02 times 151, so this is 3.02 grams of sodium bromate. Whoops, yeah. And that's how many, so we take 3.02 grams of sodium bromate, put it into the volumetric flask, fill it to the 100 mil mark, and we should have 0.2 molar sodium bromate. Describe how you would prepare 188 mils of 0.15 molar sodium sulfate from solid sodium sulfate. So we have this solid, so we've got to figure out how many grams we'll have to add. Well, again, concentration times volume gives us moles, and then from moles we're going to go to grams. So the concentration is 0.15 moles per liter of the sodium sulfate. Then we have the volume is 0.188 liters of the solution. Okay, so 0.15 times 0.188. So we end up with 0.0282 moles of the sodium sulfate. Let me double check that. 0.15 times 0.188. Yeah, and then they want to, but that's how many moles. But if we're in the lab, once we calculate that and say, well, how many moles is that? And we have to convert to, or how much is that? And in moles, that doesn't tell us. If we're dealing with a balanced equation, that gives us information we can work with the equations. But when we want to work in the lab, it has to be in grams. So that's why we always convert over to. Seems like we always convert to grams, and that's because if we're going to work in the lab, we're going to actually work with this stuff, we have to be in grams, something we can use a balance for. So we have 23 plus 23 plus 32 plus 64, yep, times 0.0282. This comes up to be 4.00 grams of sodium sulfate. Double check that, 0.0282 times 142. And that's the deal.